It's been 60 years since Charlton Heston took that fateful spin on his chariot in Ben-Hur, and to mark that anniversary, Warner Brothers and Turner Classic Movies are bringing the Oscar-winning spectacular back to the big screen. We'll chat with Heston's son, Fraser Heston, about the making of Ben-Hur, plus we'll take a look at Charlton Heston's greatest movie roles, all on our epic podcast, Movies for the Rest of Us.
Yes, the spectacle, the color, the excitement, the human drama of Ben-Hur.
Ben-Hur set the standard for screen spectacle in 1959, filling the widescreen with enormous sets, larger-than-life historical drama, and towering performances. The film won 11 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Actor for Heston, who embodied the spirit of the main character, a Jewish nobleman sold into slavery. Ben-Hur has been seen on TV for decades, and just 6 years ago it got a pristine new digital restoration and Blu-ray release. Now, on April 14th and 17th, just in time for Easter, the TCM Big Screen Classics series will let audiences experience Ben-Hur the way it was meant to be seen, on giant theater screens nationwide.
Hi, it's Fraser Heston calling.
We spoke about 6 years ago when this film came out on Blu-ray, was digitally restored.
Yeah.
At the time we agreed the only thing better than seeing it digitally restored on a TV would be on a huge screen. And I'm guessing that's the way you're supposed to watch this movie, right?
You know, that's exactly right, and I'm glad that Warner Brothers is going to have this theatrical release for it. I think it's long overdue, and it should look fantastic.
The film is the definition of spectacle. And at the time, your dad was pretty much Mr. Spectacle. 10 Commandments, Ben-Hur, El Cid.
Yeah.
But he was also making a lot of movies, wonderful movies like Touch of Evil, very tightly observed films.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. He wasn't, everybody knows him for these big spectacles in the 50s and 60s. But Touch of Evil and, some of these smaller pictures that he did in between the big epics, I think are, equally interesting, and for him, I think equally rewarding. He didn't really care how big the movie was. He just cared, is this a good part? Is this a good story? Is it interesting? Does it have compelling characters? Not, how much money can they spend on it or how much money can it make even. That didn't seem to matter. Like his favorite film was Will Penny, which we talked about before. The little Western he made for Paramount and didn't make a lot of money, didn't cost a lot of money. Nowadays it would be a cable film or something like that, or on streaming. And he was thrilled to do it and thought it was some of his best work.
I imagine you might find it exhausting to be the center figure in these huge epic films.
It was exhausting in a physical way. And there's a certain amount of stress and strain involved in day after day, week after week, 6 days a week in some cases, working 12 hours a day on a film like Ben-Hur. You can just imagine how exhausting that must have been for him. But I think he loved it. It was work in the sense that manual labor is hard work, but it's still rewarding.
I seem to remember you got to go to Italy during the filming of that, didn't you?
I did. I lived in Rome with my parents for 9 or 10 months, and I think it was the end of 58, beginning of 59.
When Dad came home from a hard day at work, was that...
Well, he used to come home. First of all, he'd come home with a bag of sand for my sandbox that he built. He said to me, "Son, this is not just any sand. This is MGM sand." and said he'd often wear his wardrobe home, so I thought he was a professional charioteer at that point, or gladiator or something. And then when he started taking me for rides in the chariot, I thought, man, this is better than your dad being a fireman and riding in a fire truck.
You got to ride in the chariot?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got some old movies. Pretty cool.
Wow. You've always said your dad was, of all the roles he played, he was kind of a Ben-Hur kind of guy.
I don't know if he was a Ben-Hur kind of guy any more than he was a Moses kind of guy. A lot of people look on him as this sort of Old Testament patriarch. And he certainly wasn't that. And he wasn't, kind of a hard-nosed father. He was a very generous, loving, forgiving man. But he could identify, I think, with characters like Ben-Hur, who is a well-to-do Jewish prince, if you will, in Jerusalem, and ends up suffering a great injustice when his best friend ends up conspiring to put his family in dungeons for the rest of their lives, from which they eventually contract leprosy. And so he has this sense of injustice done and of trying to right a wrong and of vengeance deferred, which, of course, the theme of the movie is that, as Ben-Hur says, I heard Jesus speak today, and he took the sword from my hand, which is a wonderful sort of character arc. You know, I think that's the kind of thing that fascinated my father, those sorts of complex characters that he could identify with.
To find out how to see Ben-Hur at a theater near you, April 14th and 17th, go to fathomevents.com. Charlton Heston won his one and only acting Oscar for Ben-Hur, but in a career that spanned nearly 70 years, he created dozens of unforgettable characters. Here are our 13 favorite Charlton Heston performances that are not Ben-Hur.
Playing cards with you two is like washing your feet with your socks on.
Say, mate, listen to that band. Hey, Whitey, can you see him yet?
What are you going to do, Miss Terry? Sick your bridegroom on me?
Get down!
But my love won't die.
Kill it.
You kill it!
Behold his mighty hand. I'll tell you what stands between us and the Greeks. 2,000 years of human suffering stand between us. Christ on his cross stands between us. Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape. You gotta tell him Silent Green is people! Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him.
We got a sick man. Our horses are done in.
Put him up at my place, as long as it's just tonight.
It's too late, Gav. Too late for me.
I saw that shoebox 10 minutes ago,
Yeah,
Captain.
well, maybe you didn't notice.
I knocked it over on the bathroom floor. I couldn't very well have failed to notice 2 sticks of dynamite.
Tell any story you want.
The shoebox was empty.
Go on saying it's empty. Folks will understand.
I'm saying more than that, Captain. You framed that boy.
Framed him!
Gordon Street. Oh, yes. Gordon Street. I once knew a girl who lived on Gordon Street a long time ago, when I was a young man. Not a day passes I don't think of her. And the promise I made, which I will always keep. That one perfect day on Gordon Street. That's 5 blocks up, 2 over.
Thank you.
And that's our podcast. For more on the movies, go to SaturdayEveningPost.com/movies. And for all my reviews, videos, and interviews, come to my website, moviesfortherestofus.com. And you can also like Movies for the Rest of Us on Facebook. For the Saturday Evening Post, I'm Bill Newcott.